All right, welcome and thank you for coming back to the Heel Havoc. Now, as I teased last week, I have a top five, all top five. In this episode, you're going to get my top five managers in wrestling history, according to me. Now, this is definitely up for debate, not much less from people that are probably going to disagree with a few of my choices. But I reassure you, my choices were made with the whole heart intention of bringing it out. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm your boy Gator, so my number five, Jimmy Hart. Now, this should be no surprise he was going to be in my top five. He is the mouth of the South. Big thing about Jimmy, I was like, he did not just jump into the wrestling business at a young age like a lot of the other managers. He actually got into the music business. Yes, he was one of the Gentrys, I believe, and he got brought in by Jerry the King Lawler down there in Memphis. He actually started out managing Jerry the King Lawler until a split occurred, leading Hart to start the first family of wrestling. Don't that just sound all kinds of poetic? But Jimmy Hart has managed some of the greats. Hulk Hogan, everybody knows him in his later years, but also a little bit in the early. King Kong Bundy, Ravishing Rick Rude, Lenny Poffo, The Anvil, Ox Baker, Kamala, Macho Man even, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, The Iron Sheik, and Kevin Sullivan. That alone you are talking about some of the most impressive talent of the decade in the 70s. Much less all being managed by the same person. Now that seems like, now Jimmy had a larger than life personality. He would come out with a microphone where he would spout his little toolage to his little confidants, his wrestlers out there. Man, he had so much energy running back and forth, going all over the place. Now he gained notoriety in Memphis, but signed to the WWE. Back then it was the WWF, and in my heart it always will be. In 1985. Now, in the WWF, he managed the likes of Greg the Hammer Valentine, Honky Tonk Man. Now, together, they would later form Rhythm and Blues Tag Team for a short lived tag team period. Even the Hart Foundation, Adrian Adonis, Natural Disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon, Nasty Boys, Money Inc. with Ted DiBiase and IRS. And finally, Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake at the infamous WrestleMania 9. Which, if you don't know why that one's infamous, go back and watch it. You'll find out real quick. Jimmy Hart, like I said, larger than life, megaphone in hand, spouting off, earned himself the name Mouth of the South. If you met him or saw him, you wouldn't forget him at all. He was the one running around, little guy, not scared to jump up on the ring, cause a little distraction. Even used the megaphone as a weapon from time to time to make sure his guys won. Takes me back right there. I was like, now, he was a vocalist for the Gentrys. Even composed a lot of music for the Superstars. I mean, this guy had a solid foundation in music. He just liked wrestling. And who can blame him? I mean, wrestling's awesome. Now, some of the music he composed were the Honky Tonk Man, Jimmy Snuka, of course, the Beefcake, the Rockers, Heart Foundation, man, Nasty Boys, Legion of Doom. Man, he was all over the place. He knew how to do it. And even in WCW, kept on doing it with Hulk Hogan, Sting, and the NWO Wolfpack. A lot of people don't know he was the one behind the NWO Wolfpack's little song. So he had a solid background in the music. And between music, image, larger than life personality, he left a massive impact on wrestling, including making appearances today as part of the WWE Legends contract. Jimmy Hart definitely gets my number 5 vote. He would be higher, but as you see from a few of these other ones, it was like he had a little bit more to get up to. So let's start number 4. Sensational Sherri. Oh man, I remember her. Man, she left a mark on wrestling. Now, she broke the gender barrier when it came to managers. Up until then, it was just a pretty little thing to escort you out. I was like, clap, give you the little clap in the corner saying, go, yay. But no, not Sensational Sherri, not Sister Sherri, not Queen Sherri. Sensational was the only way to describe Sherri Martel. Now, again, like a lot of other wrestlers, got started in Memphis, even managed by Jim Cornette, who we'll discuss in a little bit. Dun, 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 spoiler. After an injury, she returned to wrestling and managing Pat Rose and Tom Pritchard, which a lot of people might recognize Tom Pritchard. He was part of the Heavenly Bodies, heavily involved in a lot of wrestling throughout the years, even in the back scenes of WWE. So she got injured, came back, and still progressed herself. And her debut match in the WWF came in July of '87. And it was against the Fabulous Moolah, in which she actually won the women's title. Her first match in the WWE, she takes home the WWF Women's Championship. Say what you want, that's a big thing. You know, it was a big thing when Paige did it a few years back, but Sherri Martel took it first back in '87. Now, she actually held this title until October of '88, a full year. Man, no switching around the women's title. Man, they let her have it and run with it. Why? Because she got skills. She got skills on the mic. She knows how to keep people going. Now, she may have beat Moolah, but Moolah was actually one of the women that trained her. But kicked her out of the school due to her liking to party and go clubbing. Haha. Imagine a 20-year-old that liked to go clubbing and party. How could we have not foreseen this? But baffles the mind. Now, as a wrestler, she was good. I mean, she could definitely work her way in between those ropes. But as a manager, she was the queen. She wasn't a pretty thing like Miss Elizabeth over there. Honorable mention. Yes, got to give honorable mention to Miss Elizabeth. But she wasn't like Miss Elizabeth. She didn't just sit in the corner and put on the worried face and clap and that's it. I was like, she got it behind the mic. She got involved in the storyline. She got involved. This is why she was ranking number 4 on my list, because it wasn't just a valet at the time. Sensational Sherri was a manager. And she managed several people, not just Macho Man, which was my favorite time with her, to be honest. I think the Macho King and the Queen definitely were a great pairing. She started off by managing the Macho Man in the WWE and taking him to the Macho King, like I just said. Great addition. I think those two were perfect. She had parts to play. I was like, with the Hogan feud all the way through the retirement match with the Ultimate Warrior. She was just as much a part of the Macho Man being hated as she was making him liked in the future. She played the part perfectly. If it wasn't for her turning on Macho Man, the sympathy level would not have been there, and then Macho Man would have just faded into memory. Now, she was not just a piece of arm candy, like I said. She was involved in storylines elevated every and managed, even including DiBiase for a time, up until '92. One of my favorites, to be honest, and this is, outside of the Macho King, I loved it whenever she was with Shawn Michaels, because she took that "I'm in love, oh my God, he's so hot" approach. She changed, but it fit the storyline. I mean, she didn't just try to be the arm candy walking out. She was a part of it, involving herself in the matches still. And for Michaels, who was on trying out singles and trying to elevate himself, this was a major part of his elevation, to be honest. I mean, I don't see Shawn Michaels being the man he was without that firm foothold with Sherri as his manager. So can't really say nothing about that. I mean, she was definitely one of the better, and she paved the road for female managers that wanted to be more than just arm candy. We had Luna Vachon. We had Chyna. Man. And Chyna eventually got into the ring herself as a wrestler. Luna Vachon did as well. Sherri, Sensational Sherri, breaking down all those gender barriers that were dominant in the wrestling world. But she stood up and she broke down that wall and she made her own path. That's why she ranks number 4, just ahead. Now, as I kind of gave a spoiler alert, Jim Cornette, yes, number 3. Now, a lot of people don't know this about Jim, but Jim started working at the age of 14 at wrestling shows, handing out flyers or handing out programs, things like that. I mean, it's in his blood from a young age. So when he talks about knowing the business, he has been in this business for so long, he might not know anything else. I don't know if he could do anything else if he broke away from wrestling. But his managing debut was manager to Sensational Sherry, like I said. And here's his gimmick. And he kind of stuck with us. He didn't change over the years. He was that spoiled rich kid who wanted to trade away his, and trust fund for a wrestling championship and all that. You know, and he played that part all the way even to carrying that racket around through all the years. Now, a little fun fact about that racket. A lot of people don't know, but he actually kept a horseshoe in that racket. Why do you say? In case a fan got a little too handsy or rough, he would show him that the racket was loaded. Oh man, that would have been great to see someone get knocked out by a tennis racket. But even as a rich kid turned manager, his gimmick was he was getting fired after every single match. So he would go out one, get fired, go out one, get fired, go out one, get fired. So he learned over the years until it kind of stuck. And his first big time was when he went to Mid-South and formed the Midnight Express. A lot of people recognize that name. It was a legendary tag team back in the day. But he even went through, now, a lot of this is going to bring back some memories, especially to my older crowd, right here in the heart of Texas, Sportatorium, which they did some things at the old Cowboy Stadium. But he went through here. He went through WCW, which was then known as Jim Crockett Promotions, working his way up to color commentator and booker for WCW before heat and animosity kind of led him away to quitting in 1990. He then actually, instead of turning tail and running away, he kind of went and started up his own wrestling promotion. Weird. Most people go look for a job. He just created one. And then it was called the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Promotion. In 91, he was a firm believer in the old school territory wrestling. I mean, back in the 70s, 80s, if you hear someone refer to as territory wrestling, it's because everybody had their territories and they stayed in their territories. They didn't venture out and travel all over the country like the WWE does today. It was, you had this area, you had this area, you had this area, and you stayed there. And that's what kind of set it apart. And now WWE would eventually, WWF at the time would change all that. But Jim Cornette started the Smoky Mountain Wrestling in 91 and would actually end up selling the rights to the WWF in 95. And that's about the time that Cornette made his way through to WWF. Now, I remember when he first came out. To be honest, I didn't know who the hell he was. I just know I didn't like him. But he came out with a racket, and the first person to greet him was like, Bobby Heenan stood up, was like, hey! And then you automatically knew he was a heel manager, because if Bobby Heenan liked you, you were not a good guy at that time. Bobby Heenan was a guarantee you were not good if he liked you anywhere at all. But he came out and he was bringing in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Champions, which were the tag team champions, which were the Heavenly Bodies. Don Pritchard be a part of that. And now he would eventually move on around to managing Vader, being the American spokesperson for Yokozuna, which was basically a mouthpiece to a dominant heel. And let's be honest, Yokozuna needed that mouthpiece. It wasn't a lot of talking, especially from Fuji. So it was all about building him into it. And he started managing different wrestlers and kind of building up his little, empire as far as here. I was like, he went to, and it was several. I mean, he was actually eventually written off. And so he could assist behind the scenes, kind of building up, booking, producing matches. Um, Now, a funny thing is, I mean, he was so good at what he did, he would eventually become the part owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling, WWF developmental promotion. I mean, what can you say? He was like, all right, yeah, I did this for you. Hey, I appreciate that. Let's go do this down here. And because Ohio Valley, you've heard about it in the documentaries. It was a good place, a lot of good memories, a lot of great talent came out of there, but no real management, no real direction. Then Cornette came down. Now, he's been all over the wrestling world. He's been WWF, WCW, ECW, NWA, TNA, OVW, and of course, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He's been all over, and most companies he has never failed, went and done his thing. Most of what his failures are is a failure to communicate and get along with upper management. But Jim Cornette, had one of the most irritating, annoying, over the top personalities you couldn't help but hate. I mean, who doesn't hate the rich kid who acts like he's better just because he has money but can't do the job near as good as you? You know what I'm talking about. Everybody's known at least one of them in their lifetime. Now, number two. Now, this is going to be where I'm going to lose some people and I'm going to make some people mad, but I had to say it because it's in my heart. Paul Heyman. Yes, he's number two. Uh, and it was a close one, to be honest, man. I had to really do some soul searching, meditation, watch some old video to really make sure I was making the right call. But Paul, I mean, he got number two in my very narrowly. And he got his debut in 87. A lot of people remember him as Paul E. Dangerously. A brash, fast talking New Yorker, often seen with a mobile phone. Well, one of the big bricks. Yeah, the things that couldn't be destroyed. They actually dubbed as a weapon a long time ago. And it was, to be honest, a theatrical extension of Heyman's own personality. I mean, it was kind of just him with the volume turned all the way up. Now, he went through WCW. I was like, and he managed the Midnight Express. Now, here's a really cool fact. He managed Mean Mark Callis. You may know him better as The Undertaker. Before The Undertaker was let go to come to the WWF, where he would make his foundation and build upon it. Kind of a cool little fact. Undertaker was a Paul Heyman guy. Who would have guessed? And, although he was originally hired for a manager, because he's such a good talker, he found himself next to Jim Ross as a color commentator. Can't help but love the guy that could talk, and Paul Heyman, if nothing else, can get on that mic. Because if you look at over the years at who he has managed, Brock Lesnar really wasn't known for his mic skills. One of the most dominant athletes in history, I will give him that. Combat athletes, at least. He has done immaculate and amazing things, both in the WWE and the UFC. He is a legitimate tough guy. Can't say nothing much. Enjoy your retirement, Brock. But we're talking about Paul Heyman. And now, the only one that really didn't need him was Seth Rollins. And you saw how well that worked out. That would just lasted a few months, maybe a year. Not even a year. But Roman Reigns, still, in my opinion, not the best on the mic. He just knows how to say, acknowledge me. And then that's really all his thing is. I mean, that's his whole stick. So Paul Heyman elevates people that don't have mic skills, but they have great in-ring skills. That's really what he does better than anybody else. Now, in 93, he actually took over. He was leaving the WCW, took over as a head booker for ECW. Now, back then, it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, not the Extreme yet. And he went back to Paulie Dangerously and managed wrestlers like Sabu and 911. So it was one of those where he went back to managing, but he's also the chief booker. So now he has vested interest. He wants to make these matches. After severing alliance, though, the end with NWA, ECW was rebranded as ECW, but this time Extreme Championship Wrestling. In 95, he became the sole owner of ECW. And in the late 90s, actually worked a deal with the WWF to use and exchange talent for a while. Now, a lot of people remember that crossover where we were seeing big things, but let's face it, man, ECW, they were on a different scale altogether. Paulie Dangerously, Paul Heyman, he even managed people like Bam Bam Bigelow, which is why Bam Bam was so prominent in ECW. He wanted that to succeed. After a couple bad years, and ECW started losing money. I think they were like $2 million in debt. WWE bought the rights to ECW. Heyman made several appearances and has been a constant staple since 2012. And like I said, he managed CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and now The Vision, which Braun Breaker has a great in-ring talent, fast, strong, but man, his mic skills need a little love. Paul's get him in shape. Same thing with Austin Theory. I'm like, yeah, Logan Paul. I mean, he's already got him out. To be honest, that's going to be the easiest job for Paul Heyman is getting him ready. But one of the biggest things, and this is the craziest thing, but being a Paul Heyman guy is kind of like a badge of honor. It really is, because it's gets you in the spotlight immediately because you have immediate recognition, and it's pride knowing that he brings you in. He's taken pride in every single wrestler he's ever brought into the business and followed them all the way to the end. If like as we saw in WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar. His character, the reason why, I mean, his character is more liked than disliked. And, he gets the crowds behind him whenever he says, "My name is Paul Heyman." I mean, the crowd gets behind him. And I don't think a lot of the crowd hates him. I think that it's more of a love-hate relationship. He would love if they hate him more, but you know what? He'll take whatever he can get because that is the business. But he gets crowds involved. He gets them every time he steps out, whether a good way, negative way, positive way. He will become the portion of whoever he's managing, whether it be a face or a heel. He does exactly what he needs to do to keep that. And to be honest, over time, he may switch. If I do this same top five in another 5-10 years, he may switch to number one. But till then, my number one, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Yes, the Weasel, the Brain. He is my number one manager, in my opinion, the greatest manager in wrestling history for a lot of reasons. Not just because he was a dominant heel manager in the day, but in 1966, he actually debuted. Pretty boy Bobby Heenan wrestled his first match for World Wrestling Association. And after that, he was always said he was never trained as a wrestler, and it just came to him naturally. So it was truly within his soul. He understood how to wrestle, how to move, how to do things, and he just understood them. Now, after a few years of that, he actually went to American Wrestling Association, where he was referred to as Bobby the Brain Heenan. The Brain was born after that. And this one in the AWA is where we first got the Heenan family. It's where the Heenan family began. Now, in 1975, this is how hated Bobby Heenan was. In 1975, an angry fan even tried to shoot the Brain while he was interfering with a match. And while Bobby got away unharmed, 5 people were in fact hurt, one being critical. He knew how to ignite the hate in all fandoms. God bless that man. And actually in 1984, Heenan packed his bags and went to the WWF, where he managed a lot of the top talent right off the bat because he knew how to make bad worse. He knew how to make evil horrendous. He knew how to make good bad. He knew how to do the business. And there was talent like Big John Studd, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, King Kong Bundy. Of course, we know the famous Andre the Giant during his Hogan feud. WrestleMania 3 flashback, in case y'all were wondering. Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, in my opinion, one of the most pure wrestlers in history. King Harley Race, Haku, and several more. Now, Haku was a legitimate badass. Only one of the only two men the Undertaker actually said he would not want to get into a real fight with. So Bobby Heenan was managing all these wrestlers and more. They would come and go. People would go up, go down, but he was always a staple. Now, you could say that Hogan had his feuds, but more times than not, it was Heenan bringing out the next big bag. Of course, we had American-made Hulk Hogan at the time, but who gave Hogan the biggest challenges? Heenan would constantly bring out another one. I'm going to bring this up. Hercules, Barbarian, Mr. Perfect, Andre. Heenan would just keep shelving them out. And King Harley Race, Haku. I mean, Heenan would just keep bringing another one to throw at Hogan. And that's how they got over. Because if they were with Heenan at any time, they were considered bad. They were considered the heel. Now, to know how that worked, Bobby the Brain Heenan brought Andre the Giant into the Heenan family. And Andre, even so beloved over the years, was immediately hated and booed after one promo. No, why, Andre? Why? No, how could you do this? It was, no, we hate you now. You're with Heenan. People hated Heenan with a passion. And in my opinion, Bobby Heenan was Hulk's biggest feud because Heenan would do anything to beat him. And Heenan was not only involved in storylines as a manager, but was known to get in the ring and wrestle from time to time, mostly in tag matches. But his final in-ring match was at a house show against Mr. Fuji in 91, and he pinned the legend himself. So Bobby the Brain may have managed, but he still got in there and wrestled too. And Heenan had commentary duties. Everybody remembers him a lot as far as being a part of the commentary, the color commentator. And he started those in 84, but jumped full time in 91. It was one of those where he really, talking and invigorating. If you didn't know who to root for or root against, whenever Bobby Heenan would say, "That's my guy," you know he was the bad guy. No question about it. There wasn't a, well, let me see him. Let me see what's going on. No, you knew he was the bad guy. So, but yeah, to be honest, if you go back and watch some of the old tapes where you have Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan going back and forth, they would almost make you want to stay home because they were such a good pair, and it was like a yin and yang going back and forth, like two brothers arguing over who's going to get the last donut. It was awesome. I mean, really, if you've never seen it, you need to go back and watch those, if nothing else. So Heenan had his time in the WWF. Now, a lot of people will probably remember him most in WCW, and he got there in 94, and he rode that out till 2000. And to be honest, he said he was uninspired due to negative work environment and conflicts with Schiavone. Yeah, Tony Schiavone does look like a douche. But here's a kicker. I think he just saw the writing on the wall and got out when he could, because WCW went out of business less than 6 months after his release. When you have great talent and you're squandering it with arguments in the back, and this is really why WCW lost the Monday Night Wars, is not because of talent. They had it, but they had no leadership in the back. WWF was different. There was no question who was the leader in the back. It was Vince McMahon. It was no question at all. It was his way. You don't like it? Okay, bye-bye. See you later. And that's why everybody worked their ass off, and that's why WWF came out ahead. Now, no matter how you feel about Heenan, you may love him, you may hate him, you may think I'm completely wrong for not putting like Paul Heyman at the top of the list, but you just never saw Heenan the way I saw him. He was the blueprint for what a manager should be. And today we don't see it, and this is why I did this top 5, is because we don't have a lot of managers today. I mean, it's every manager or every wrestler wanting to come out, really just have Paul Heyman. That's really it. I mean, a little here, a little there, kind of a valet type issue again, but no real managers. And I miss that part of wrestling because it kind of gave you that little vibe. I mean, you could pick and choose your whole people you like just by who's managing them. And you knew who to root against, who's going to do the cheating, the dirty, rotten, scoundrel cheating thing. So I think I would love to see some more managers in the current wrestling business. I know we won't get it. Everybody wants to be the Bailey Badass, do it all by themselves. But to be honest, a manager can elevate you well beyond your current station. But I understand why a lot of managers don't want to come out today. I mean, following the brain makes it a little harder to start, which is why you only have future legends like Paul Heyman that could pull it off. So that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this week's top 5. It was all episode top 5. I normally wrap it up, but I've been wanting to talk about managers for a while because I think it's a big issue that wrestling is missing altogether. So thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and follow. Or maybe just a like and a follow. Don't have to subscribe. We're good. You'll get the next issue anyways, or you get the next one. But till then, keep tuning in to Heel Havoc. We're here. It's good to be bad.